it! Lock and load! Lock and load! Bring on the pain!
Ahoo!
If a genie was to grant me 3 wishes, I'm pretty sure that one of my wishes would be for a new F-Zero game. You would wish for world peace?
Shut up, bitch!
For my other 2 wishes, I would wish for money to grow on trees and for the Dreamcast 2 to be a thing one day. Still, there's never a day in my mind where I'm not hoping that Nintendo would upload a teaser trailer for a new upcoming F-Zero game. I love this series so much, and I just so happen to talk about F-Zero all the goddamn freaking time. In my lifetime, I've been begging for another F-Zero game, and I hope by the time it comes out, I'll still be alive. There's just something so enthralling about driving a race car in a futuristic setting. The F-Zero franchise put Nintendo on the map with the original game on Super Nintendo released back in 1991. People at Nintendo were like, let's make this awesome racing game that will blow these people's balls off. We're gonna add some personality, and this thing called Mode 7? Yeah, let's use a lot of that in the game. Boom! F-Zero was born. F-Zero has everything you want in a racing game. Speed, incredible racetracks, memorable characters, and of course, a great selection of cars. Well, the first game only had about 4 cars, but as the series grew, so did the character rosters. Each installment of F-Zero was always on another level when it came to its presentation. A racing game that had story? Oh, how I miss the era when you bought a game like this, and the experience is always as fun as it was the first time you played it. That is the definition of F-Zero and what it means to me till this day. Just a fun racer that drives his graphical capabilities and presentation with his character rosters to the full extent. An experience you will not forget when you play the game. You play this game, you're gonna wish you were in the driver's seat. You're gonna be hooked on speed. That which F-Zero provides to you. F-Zero is good. F-Zero is... hold on a sec. Wait a sec. This isn't F-Zero. Yeah, that's right. What you're seeing right now on the screen, this is not an F-Zero game. This game is in fact called Aero GPX. What does the GPX stand for? Aerodynamic Grand Prix Experience. But if you want a summarization of what this game is all about, that's why I'm here. So let's get right into it. If you have ever played F-Zero X or F-Zero GX for Nintendo GameCube, then Aero GPX will feel right at home. It's been decades since F-Zero and Nintendo has even considered going forward with the franchise. In the mid-2000s, there was an F-Zero anime which kind of flew over my head. Still, it makes me question why Nintendo are even hesitant putting out a game. I understand if the reason was that a new F-Zero game would perform terribly financially, but F-Zero GX sold remarkably well, and we didn't even get the last game, which was F-Zero Climax for the Game Boy Advance, which was a Japanese-only release. So the F-Zero fans are fed up. We are now in an era where fans are developing their own versions of real, authentic F-Zero games. There has been some really great attempts in the past, and unfortunately some of those games have went under my radar. But when I look at Aero GPX, I'm thinking to myself, this is it. This is the game that will finally do the F-Zero series justice. And if Nintendo doesn't want to make another F-Zero game, well, tough luck.
You're too slow!
What separates Aero GPX from just being another F-Zero-like game is the fact that there are segments within the racetracks where you take flight in airborne action. Think of Sonic Racing transformed but with faster cars. Each race car will go through airborne slipstream and fly through rings, not the crap that you see in Superman 64, but these rings increases your momentum airborne. While you are in the air, you can also do homing attacks to cause damage to other cars. You can also take big risks while you do your drill diving in and out of slipstreams in order to build the most speed possible. As you race, you strike other cars as you swirl into them. Aero GPX makes it as rewarding as possible. Even if you don't destroy a car on contact, you will still be awarded when the car does explode eventually, since you've done the assisted damage. And of course, some emotional damage.
Emotional punch!
As of right now, I've only played the demo of the game, and Aero GPX will definitely look and play much better in the final release. But to the demo's credit, the game already looks great and plays great. In fact, the controls feels more tight and precise compared to F-Zero GX. F-Zero GX was a game that was ahead of its time graphically. People will probably play Aero GPX and think to themselves, yep, that's exactly like F-Zero but with a different name. And it's not made by Nintendo. Even the developers said themselves that Aero GPX has been inspired by the 3D F-Zero games. This was quoted by the developer himself. Aero GPX's primary inspirations are F-Zero X and F-Zero GX. The tight physics, responsive controls, technical depth, numerous opponents, and risk-reward excitement create an experience that is unmistakable. However, the importance is in the details, and the details are what set Aero GPX far enough apart from the inspiration to carve its own space in the genre alongside those classics that we love so much. The developer also goes on to say that their other inspirations are games like Wave Race 64 and Kirby Air Ride for Nintendo GameCube. Damn, I kinda forgot that Kirby had a racing game. Anyways, as of today, Aero GPX has successfully reached a total fund goal of $118,189 on Kickstarter. Its initial fund goal was around $72,000. The Kickstarter campaign was funded by 2,100 people.
Way to go!
The anticipation is understood. The fans are craving this type of experience. So what are the game features that is being promised of Aero GPX? Well, of course, you're going to have your career mode, but will it be similar to the story mode of FZero GX, where you have an objective and you can only progress once you have completed your objective? As much as I love a good racer, it's always nice to know my purpose with these characters. That's a really good question to think to yourselves. Why am I racing in the first place? Ever since the first F-Zero game, you were given an instruction manual explaining these race car drivers' backgrounds and all the sorts. Now moving along to another game feature of Aero GPX, you got your Grand Prix Championships. Now I'm hoping that Aero GPX won't do what F-Zero GX did with the unlockables. Unlocking new chapters in campaign mode should not be an unlockable. I'm hoping that in Aero GPX you could race in Grand Prix Championships so that you could collect some sort of currency to unlock cosmetics, new cars, new tracks, and more. Time trials is a given by now. If you're gonna have a racer, you must have time trial mode. Now from what I'm reading on the Kickstarter page, it mentions that Aero GPX will have about 30 plus racers and 30 plus tracks. Now my question is, will there be DLC characters after the first initial 30 plus racers and tracks, or will this be a game that has all the content within the game for you to unlock? So far what Aero GPX is promising is very ambitious, and even though this wasn't mentioned in the Kickstarter page, there will be a track editor for the game that will allow players to share their tracks on PC. Now, will there be Steam Workshop implementation as well? Who knows, but I'm hoping that will be a thing. I've done some research about the team behind Aero GPX, and by research, what I meant to say is that I read more of the Kickstarter page and Steam page. There's one developer working primarily on the game, and he goes by the name of Aaron McDevitt, and he has been developing games for about 15 years now. Now, as I looked him up on Google, Aero GPX is the only game that I could find under his name. I'm assuming that he's probably worked for other video game companies and developed for them for this amount of time. He's also stated that he's been making game modifications and hobby game development projects. Nori really nails the art of the characters down perfectly, as the original F-Zero character designs look like comic book characters straight out of the 1970s comic book, and with the Aero GPX characters, the same can be said, but here, this time with the characters, they look like they came out of a 1990s comic book, which is the era that I hail from.
Dude, what the f? You're so old. Where's your wife? Go home to your family, dude.
Now lastly, based on what the Kickstarter has shown me, Myron is responsible for the badass soundtrack of Aero GPX, and it does an incredible job replicating the F-Zero X metal sound mixed with eccentric and suspenseful tracks to keep your adrenaline going. Myron is a guitarist, producer that has played on recording sessions on hit series such as Cobra Kai. Wait, hold on a second, he recorded music on Cobra Kai? Enough said, this game is in good hands in terms of the soundtrack. So here's what I like about Aero GPX. The fact that you just don't race on one planet, but multiple planets is interesting to me. There are 7 distinct planets, locales that the Aero GPX takes place across, making each Grand Prix a galaxy-spanning, planet-hopping adventure. When I played the demo for Aero GPX, I felt like I was in control. It felt intuitive and responsive. The impact on the car collided with each other was surreal. The fact that the boost does not take away from your health bar. Yes, that's right, in F-Zero GX, whenever you boosted your car, it took away pieces of your health. That was frustrating since you had to conserve more, and that limits the amount of speed you could do in a single race. In Aero GPX, you speed as much as you want, but of course if you crash into something, you will take damage. Risk versus reward. The fact that there's going to be a track editor in Aero GPX is a dream of mine. Something that I always wanted in F-Zero GX. Even F-Zero X for Nintendo 64 tried to do a track editor with the Nintendo disk drive, but that didn't come to fruition. Another thing that I like about Aero GPX is that the tracks cater to speed and quick maneuvering. Albeit graphically the tracks can be improved upon, but as long as they play fine, it's alright by me. So far from the tracks that have been provided with the demo, it's more casual friendly, meaning less pitfalls and narrow passageway for players to make mistakes and retire their cars. F-Zero GX was sort of unforgiving with some of its tracks. But at the end of the day, Aero GPX has a distinction that makes it different from F-Zero. The fact that you can actually fly your car, and even though in F-Zero GX, you could sort of do that with the jump pads, It didn't take the concept to the fullest potential. Now Aero GPX has an advantage with that alone. And I'm hoping that Aero GPX will allow you to customize your own cars like how FZero GX did back on the GameCube. It'd be interesting what kind of cars people create. I say once a track editor is in place and the game allows you to customize your own vehicle, this will be one of the greatest futuristic racing games ever. Now I will always have my heart set on FZero any day of the year, but here's rooting for Aero GPX to win me over, to win the FZero fans over. I'm sorry Nintendo, we've waited decades for a new FZero game, and I think it's finally here.